This is the Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall.
Let's go nuts! It's Jimmy Nuts! Drive out with a car!
With your hosts, Mark Martinez.
Remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things.
And the English Professor.
It's called a garbage can, not a garbage cannot.
Hey, this is former WWE superstar Duke, the Dumpster Drosy, and you are listening to the Can Crushers Podcast.
Woohoo! Happy anniversary!
Happy anniversary! Happy anniversary, you scrubs.
You're a part of the Scrubs.
Us
Now,
Scrubs.
if you drop this drink, it's a special drink. It's a fruity drink today. I don't know. It's an anniversary drink. Happy anniversary, Can Crushers. Guys, how the hell you doing?
Happy anniversary, Mark.
It's all of us.
You started it all.
It's all of us. From old co-host Paulin to Swan Dog to the Professor of Belts to Colin to Soup to all the fans, promoters, all the guests that we've had on the show. Thank you. It's that simple. Thank you. We wouldn't be where we are. I put that post out yesterday. Thank you. I love it.
It's been fun.
It's definitely been an experience. Reliving our childhood with some of the people that made it and some of the people that are still doing it.
Speaking to some of the wrestlers, I mean, looking at the wall here in the studio, there's some awesome pictures. Up-and-comers from OVW to legends like Manny Fernandez, the Killer Bees. The Killer Bees is still one of my favorites. To our boy, the OG Can Crusher, Duke the Dumpster.
Yep, John's favorite.
He's
He's great.
We just need to get like Outback Jack and the Repo Man on because that would really take everything over.
Yeah,
for
that
John.
would. I think John would be done once we got them because there's just no place to go but up from there.
Where do you go from there?
Right. So, thank you. You guys, thanks. You guys are a huge part of it and everything. So, all right, move along there. But that's kind of our 1 minute wrap up of our anniversary. Hopefully, there's more to come. Really, I had some plans. Head over to video maybe this year, but with quarantine, video's possible, but we just like our voices. Plus, Chad has way too much shit that he'd scare the kids on video, and that's just his normal face.
Yeah, well, they actually liked me when I put the quarantine mask on, the plague mask.
It did. Chad got a new present this week. He got a Marty Skrull mask, and it scared the piss out of my dog as soon as he came in. And I've told you both the stories about how Ethan, my son, when we were up on the old house, up on it or up in it, he had
In it, probably.
Yeah, he had dreams of this plague mask, coming to get him and stuff. So what do, you giant douchebag? You knock on the door with it on, and I'm like, oh shit. He kind of literally just sat in the other room thinking, this guy's an asshole.
Yeah, he was just warming up to me too, saying hi to me and everything like that. Now he's going to be like, I hope you get hit crossing the road, fucker.
Well, yes. Yes. All right, enough banter. Where do we want to start? Well, there's only one other place to start again. I'm sorry. This is all over the place since it's the anniversary show. It's the way it is. Not getting in depth as much as we did last week about NWA Girl Power because it's something you have to watch for yourself. Yet another great show by NWA Girl Power as Marty Bell and AK had MJ Jenkins on the show, and of course it was about the riots and Black Lives Matter, and they're using this as an educational program, and it works. They are teaching me things, and it's amazing. It really is. We're not going to dive into the riots or anything. That's just not... I'm not saying it's our cup of tea to throw haste at it or anything. I'm not educated enough about stuff. I really am not. That's why I don't want to get into it. But what they're doing is awesome. Neither one of you watched it, did you?
I didn't know there was a second one. No.
Yeah.
So is this an ongoing thing?
NWA Girl Power is going to be weekly Fridays.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
What time?
6:05 usually.
Oh, okay. On YouTube. All right.
But I watch them Saturdays.
Yeah.
So that's where I get it from. Good.
Yeah. All right. That's good to know.
Yeah. All right.
There's so much out there I don't know.
The Eli Drake show. Yeah, there's so much that you are not watching.
Do it right. You don't
Eli Drake.
No, you gotta go Eli Drake. 3 separate stops. Come on, get the shit right.
Get my shit right. That's why we don't have video. Let's get right into AEW so we can skim over the WWE, because this is also an awesome episode. This is one of our favorites. It's Ask Can Crushers Day again.
All right.
John just
Let's get him.
John is like you today. Just mute.
But did he have too much of the bubbly? Is that
He had too. Wow. He doesn't drink the bubbly. He just goes right after the wild turkey.
Oh,
or whatever the hell he had.
Too much of the bird.
It was wild. It was thistlefinch.
I don't know what that is.
What kind the hell
it's a
kind
whiskey
of?
made in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Oh, I was gonna say, what the hell kind of swear word is that? What language is that?
I don't know.
You thistlefitch.
I don't know. All right, AEW. Havoc and Sabian take on Omega and Page for the tag team championships, and I thought, holy shit, these two jabrones are going to win the tag team championships at one point.
Yeah, I was thinking the whole thing straight from the beginning of the match, but I guess not. Good match, though. Very competitive match.
Yeah, it was really believable. I agree. I thought we were going to have new champs. This reminded me, the way they worked it, a little bit of like when the Road Warriors jumped the Midnight Express and won the tag team championship, or when Power and Glory jumped the Rockers before the match. It had that kind of feel, but it also had like a major fight incorporated into it. I enjoyed this, and I thought we were going to see new champs.
So you notice ever since the Dark Side of the Ring, the Road Warriors have been brought up every episode, and it's only by one person who doesn't like them.
I'm giving credit.
Mr. Charlotte Flair.
Right.
Noted.
I love Sean Spears now for one reason. Tully Blanchard gave him the coal miner's glove, and I am so pumped for Sean Spears to run with this now. Nothing.
No, I thought the promo was great, too. Tully Blanchard's believable. I can't tell you what he said. I don't remember, but I felt it. Like,
he got the coal miners.
Do this! It was great. Yeah, he needs someone to get in his face because Sean Spears is getting a little too silly, and he needs someone to get him back on track. If he's going to win, right?
The coal miners club's going to carry him to the championship.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think we're going that far with it. But,
maybe the TNT one in time.
Yeah, maybe if Marco Stunt wins it at some point.
So the WWE does not allow buckle bombs anymore. All right? Transition. They're encouraging Brian Cage to throw people around anywhere possible. And did he beat the shit out of Sean Dean? Which I don't know who Sean Dean is, but Brian Cage is just destroying in AEW. I cannot wait for Fyter Fest. This is going to be a great match between him and Ambrose. Or whatever the hell.
He worries me. Yeah. He worries me when I watch him work. And it's not, I don't know if he's doing anything right or wrong. What the hell do I know? But it just looks so dangerous. Like the moves that he does look like they're going to hurt somebody. It's very, very believable.
Yeah, they're booking him right by having him have that look, that monster look. I mean, if he was getting knocked down by all these guys and getting cheap victories, I think it would lose a lot for him. But him being booked as a monster and destroying these guys.
And him not talking is even better. Taz is perfect. I know we've said the same thing for 3 weeks now, but I just want to keep saying Taz is a perfect mouthpiece for him. Kind of giving Taz's own spin on Survive If I Let You Live or whatever the hell it is. You guys know logos and logos. Sayings better than I do, right? Taz's own Live If I Let You Survive. Come on, nation. You know it better than me.
Win if you can. Survive if I let you.
Yeah, see? You guys have not helped me out at all today. You're going to let me fail miserably on year 2.
Well, it's a hostile takeover. We're going to let you fail, get voted out.
Bad words. The Archer thing I could care less about. He was fighting underneath an underpass. Hardy, and it's going to be the Hardy private party now. Whatever. Colt, Cabana, and Jericho was a great match. John, what do you have to say about that?
It absolutely was. Sammy Guevara, by the way, is just the worst singer in the world. I don't know if he's purposely trying to be that bad.
I was so happy awful. It was back. I was so happy that was back. We haven't had him singing Fozzy in a while.
It was terrible. It was terrible singing. The match itself was so good. I have that it was a very good win for Jericho. But out of this, what I would like to see come of this is a feud for Guevara. And I think a good feud for him would be Orange Cassidy.
Well, I think it's getting set up that way. I think Orange Cassidy is going to have a match against, Jericho here soon because Jericho called out Tyson 3 times. Orange Cassidy comes out. I heard Chad screaming from down the street that he was excited that Orange Cassidy came. And I think it's going to lead to Orange Cassidy and Guevara overall because something happens this week.
Yeah, I could see it going that way more than Cassidy have a match with Jericho, or he might have one scheduled and Guevara comes out. Jericho can't waste his time with such a loser as Orange Cassidy or something like that.
He called him the baddest man on the planet, though. Well, he was calling Tyson the baddest man. All right, let's get to why we actually still watch AEW. One, because we love it, but Britt is pushing herself to the limits to get better. My God, what she's doing in that wheelchair for her leg just to get better. That extra 3 pounds on the back of the wheelchair, dragging it. Yeah, she is a role model.
I thought it was appropriately tasteless. It didn't push boundaries to the point where you were like, this is disgusting. I'm turning it off. But it did push it to the point where you're like, seriously? Like, this is what they're doing now. She's in a wheelchair and like, fighting for her life. And she was almost playing the part, and this is where it was a little tasteless for me, of someone who has been fighting something, maybe not all her life, but for a long time. Like, people go through long-term illnesses. She hurt her leg in a wrestling match, but she's selling this like she's been trying to overcome this most of her life. It was despicable. I loved it.
Yeah, I got nothing bad to say about it. I thought it was hilarious.
Big Swole and Nyla. Man, I think Big Swole, even though she lost the match, same thing as like the MJF and Jungle Boy a couple weeks ago, Nyla lost a little bit in this match for me because Big Swole looked great. And I know, John, you're a huge Big Swole fan. You voted for her in the Can Crusher Revolutionary Force tournament, and you're the only one that voted for her.
Yeah. I like both of these women. They're probably two of my 3 or 4 favorite women in the AEW women's division. This was a great match, man. This was nice, back and forth. It was a toe-to-toe fight. You had Nyla Rose using power moves, but you had Big Swole just kind of standing in there and chopping away with, like, leg kicks and punches, and they kind of matched power for power. I like the dynamic here because they're both powerful women, but you have the one who's, like, really muscular, and you have the one who's a bigger woman. They matched up really well together, and this was another situation like in the tag team match. I thought Big Swole was going to win this match, and then Nyla Rose hits a couple of moves at the end. She hits a spear that doesn't do it, and then she hit a spine buster, just a plain good old spine buster. But my favorite part was after the match, Big Swole is interviewed, which is interesting, right? They interview the loser of the match, and I think MJF was there giving her grief, and Wardlow, maybe some other people. And I don't know if you picked up on this one, but she turns to them and goes, "Fuck all y'all." thought that was great. The camera picked it up.
No, I did
Yeah,
not.
when she turned to the side.
Well, I know her and Britt had words, so I think this is the way Britt slides back in. She has a match with Big Swole, because this is like the second or third time that her and Big Swole have had words. So,
And I got a question. What the hell is it with AEW talent running down and running stuff over? First, we had Cody a couple of weeks ago in his truck run into some garbage cans or railings or whatever. Then FTR did it last week. And now you got Britt coming down and running into the ringside thing with her Gator. What the hell?
Rebel can't drive. That's not Britt's fault. That's on Rebel.
Well, yeah.
Britt wouldn't do that.
No. She has respect for everybody.
Brody Lee, man, Brody Lee lost his part of life. It's what happens after a loss. Those are strong words, guys. I'm telling you, he has reached into my soul. That's
Are you a member?
I'm still part of the initiation right now.
Okay.
He really, it means a lot. He wants to help. He really does, and I think both of you need some help. So you should sign up with me.
Well, I'll think about it. Didn't they approach Colt Cabana after the match?
They did. This is the second week in a row. And Colt's
Yeah.
actually thinking
Are you
about
okay
it.
with that?
Yeah.
Are you okay with him?
Colt,
Yeah.
if he changes some of his ways.
Gets rid of all the comedy.
Yep, he needs to get rid of the comedy. He's a great wrestler. He can't be a comedy anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Main event was Jungle Boy against Cody for the TNT title. The winner takes on Quinn next week because they've already named the match. This was a hell of a match. Jungle Boy is actually going to be a main eventer in AEW soon. I know you're both going to look at me and say, what? He's a low-frame guy. He can bring it. He really can.
But that's the difference with him and some of the other guys. Like, and I hate to compare him to Marco Growth stunt, but he looks more believable in his moves, in the way he handles himself in the ring. I don't have a problem with him. I really like him in his size, and I think even against the bigger guys, it may be a little bit far-fetched if he beats a Wardlow or a Lance Archer, but at the same token, what if he outsmarts him? What if he does something, somebody's in the corner with a chair and he whips them into the chair or trips them into the chair or something like that? I like him as a wrestler.
I like this match, Mark. I'm going to agree with you. Unlike some of the other matches, I kind of knew Cody was going to win.
I did too.
There wasn't that moment. Yeah, there wasn't that moment where I felt like, holy cow, Jungle Boy's going to win. Like, again, it reminded me of Bret Hart and the 1-2-3 Kid. I knew Bret was going to win, but there was that moment where, like, Bret went for a superplex. Kid, like, shifted his hips and landed on top of him. It was one of the closest 3 counts I've ever seen. And I thought, holy cow, Kid's going to be world champion.
Even closer,
and then Bret won. But
even closer than the IW official that here's the ring and he holds it, so know that even closer than that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there wasn't that moment in this match where I felt like Jungle Boy came just that close. It was a fight. It was back and forth, and I kind of knew Cody had it all along. Yeah,
without a doubt. Cody's not going to lose it. He's going to defend it, I bet you, until he gets back around to Archer or somebody big. Like, I don't think he's losing to Quinn either. You give it to Quinn, you kind of break up Private Party for a little bit. Not going to happen. They're the number 1 contenders or whatever. So, but they could.
And I think he's got another program coming up with MJF. I don't think that's done.
Yeah, well, that's one of the questions. You're going to leak that. That's going to be one of the questions. All right. Go ahead.
And did you all see AEW related? They were fined a second time for blood in a match. I forget. I remember it was a match with barbed wire and a bat. It wasn't.
No, that was ROH that was fined this past week in Maryland.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Yep. Ring of Honor was fined for Mark Haskins bleeding in the final match. My bad.
Yep.
Is AEW headed for another fine because of Cody?
Well, I don't know. That both of those finds came place in Maryland. If Cody for blood no, because they're in Florida. Florida is a bleed.
But with all this stuff has changed, well, we'll see. I mean, it's just interesting. I don't think they necessarily should be, but
right.
The Maryland one, they kind of got fined because they know that they weren't allowed to have blood unless it was an accident. You know, guy gets smacked in the nose or something like that type deal.
Right. Yeah.
It's interesting if they're going to have it. And speaking of ROH, I know we're not hitting a lot here. Congratulations to Flip Gordon on his signing of a multi-year, multi-million-dollar contract. If there's
that's a great sign for them.
If there's ever somebody that deserves it, it's him. Very happy for him.
Touching on Raw and SmackDown, we'll save NXT to the last segment. Touching on Raw and SmackDown, three of us are all in this together. None of us watched Raw, and I don't think we're sad about it at all.
No. I've been saying for weeks, man, that there's almost nothing on there worth watching.
You were the only one that filled us in last week. This is the second week in a row that I have not even recorded Raw. And I'm liking having Monday nights free to play video games, really, because that's all I'm doing is playing video games. But SmackDown, I'm still intrigued by every once in a while, and it's really because of Sasha and Bayley. So, what did I get out of SmackDown? I got new women's tag team champions, Sasha and Bayley, squeak a victory out over Bliss and Cross. It sets up, now guys, the rematch over on Raw with the Iconics. How do you get them the titles back on? Because they're on Raw. You give them to Sasha and Bayley, who lost at WrestleMania last year. Do the whole switch of bait thing, because now you can bring Sasha and Bayley over to Raw. You get Mark on to watch Raw one more night because Sasha and Bayley are there.
Now, do they take him to Raw, or do they have the Iconics say, we're going to come to your house, and the Iconics come to SmackDown?
Either way.
This title change was nothing more than to set that up.
Right.
And then to set up, finally, after like 21 years, the Bayley-Sasha breakup. That's all this was set up for.
You want to say something?
You've got to get the hotter stars on the lesser show. So if that means Sasha and Bayley on Raw, then that's what has to happen, because they're the stars, and in my opinion, I don't know, as I haven't compared stats, Raw is a lesser show.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah, Raw is getting the, when I say getting the ratings, they're still higher ratings than SmackDown, but the only reason they're getting the higher ratings is because they're a longer show.
And you got no competition on Monday nights, right?
Yeah, if they had a 2-hour show, I saw somewhere where they said their ratings would be around 1.2 million estimated. So you're talking a hell of a difference just because 3 hours and there's nothing on.
No, I couldn't tell you what was on. Thank God I couldn't tell you what was on. Another match I want to bring up is Lacey Evans against Sonya Deville. This was just great. John loves Lacey. I love Sonya. One of my favorites out there right now. Chad is probably more Sonya with me.
Yeah, little bit more. Lacey's the act is getting a little bit stale, so I like the newer. I like the Sonya coming out. She just screams badass, like she wants to kill somebody.
There was a twist in this match where the referee got hurt, then they went to commercial, and then John's favorite ref came out, Jessica Carr, and ended this. Mandy came on the screen, did a little. There's still this, even with Lacey in the thing right now. This is still the feud between Sonya and Mandy until there's a payoff, probably a Backlash next week, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, the blow off match.
All right. Other than that, we'll touch on NXT and the pay-per-view that's tonight after Ask Can Crushers. Guys, I'm set. I have about 25, 26 questions, all from fans this time. We're ready to blow this off, but we have to quickly tell everybody about Collar and Elbow. I have got some information that some new designs are on their way again, which is awesome. They're pumping out, every couple months they're pumping out some new designs. The shirts are comfortable. They're awesome. They're $20, guys. You go to events, you pay $20. The bonus is, since you listen to Can Crushers, we'll give you a discount code. And Chad, do you know what the discount code is?
Capital C in Can, capital C in Crushers.
All one word. You'll get 10% off. John, you love it.
I do love it. I have 2 shirts. I've been saying it every week, and I love them.
So let's listen to Al Snow, and then we'll bring it back with As Can Crushers Part 2.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. 2 entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
Hello, everyone. This is the rock god Ricky Gibson from 4 Minutes of Heat, and you are listening to the greatest podcast in professional wrestling, Can Crushers.
Woohoo! Welcome back. We're still celebrating 2 years as of yesterday that we recorded our first one, but this is part 2 of Ask Can Crushers, where the wonderful Can Crusher Nation sends in the questions and we answer them. We had a lot of wrestlers, a lot of talent the first time sent it in. This time we have all fans, but one of our other favorite podcasts joins in as well. I'm going to go just in the order that they came in because I don't want to jump around because I will clearly lose my spot on these. So, with no further ado, here we go. And I want everybody to answer these individually, okay? If you could interview any 3 wrestlers ever, who would you pick? This one is from Ryan C. from Pennsylvania. Chad, who are the 3 that you would interview?
Oh, man, Magnum TA would, I think, would be my first one. If he was still alive, I don't know if we can go this way with it, but Dusty Rhodes, I think, would be an all-time great interview. Third, wow. I don't know. That's a tough one. You know,
you can name one or two real quick.
Yeah, you can name 1 or 2. Third one, probably, and this will sound funny, I would love to interview Ole Anderson just because he's a grumpy old bastard and he doesn't care what he says. He'll give you anything on anybody, anything he went through.
John, who's your 3?
This is going to be indicative of where I grew up and when, but I would go with Iron Sheik, Magnificent Morocco, and Rowdy Roddy Piper. I think those would just be 3 great interviews. Morocco and Piper and Sheik, they were just 3 of the best heels at that time. They got major heat from the crowd. I'd love to pick their brain a little bit about how they, especially Morocco and Piper, how they thought of things so quickly right there in the moment.
I'm on board with 1 from each of your lists, and then I have 1 myself. I'll take Piper from John. I'm taking Dusty from Chad, and Macho Man.
Yep.
Macho Man for the promo that we could possibly get out of him afterwards. So, yeah, those are all. Great question, Ryan. I would hope that, several of them on our list we cannot, but maybe we could reach out to some of the other ones. All right. This one is from Katie G. No, you don't know where she's from. You guys referenced the 4...
Parts unknown.
Parts unknown, yeah. You guys referenced the 4 horsemen from the past a lot. What 4 indie superstars would you pick for the next generation horsemen?
Holy cow.
John's turn.
All right.
Yeah, you have to go first.
All right. Dylan Bostic. Holy moly. Tough question.
Do you all,
I'm trying to think like who fits.
do we all want to throw one in and see if we can?
Yeah.
All right.
That's a good idea.
So you went with Bostic. That's your pick.
Yeah.
I think RJ City fits in great as well.
Excellent.
I really do. From around this area. I mean, if you want to go... let me preface this. Right? Are we considering ROH indie as well? Or is ROH...
Yeah, you got to consider them a
top brand.
Top brand.
Yeah, all right. So you're going indie then. So we're going to kind of have to pick from our area or like OVW or something. So go ahead.
I got one. The Von Erichs.
There's your tag team.
Oh, wow, nice.
Right
Excellent.
There. Right there's your tag team.
There's your 4. So Bostic, RJ City, and the Von Erichs. Deal. We are
and their advisor, the hell was his name? The champion of big time wrestling. Every time we went.
Flex Armstrong.
Flex Armstrong. Gets in the ring once in a while, but otherwise acts as an advisor. Uses his knowledge from his long career to sign contracts.
Huge. No disrespect. I'm looking at J.J. Dillon right now. Like, he would eat J.J. Dillon alive, Flex Armstrong. He is ripped. That's the one. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right. This one is because we had Mike Herman on from Retromania. We've been dealing a lot with Daredevil Dave Dahl about it. So William from Kentucky says, which stars would you like to see make the first cut of Retromania's DLC? So they're not taking anybody from WWE or AEW or anything like that. They have taken some from NWA, but they're also getting some other promotions in there as well. So why don't we name 2 stars that we'd like to see in Retromania? Note of Retromania, by the way, guys, is it has now been pushed back to August because they've just added Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. So they have to get their artwork right. So that out of the way, 2 people that you'd like to see in the Retromania video game, and Chad says I have to go first because he just gave me the thumb. I want NWA, since they're linchpinned with the NWA a little bit, all this is on the front of it, I have to go with my boy Question Mark. He needs to be in the game. I think it's a great fit. Him in the game. And then Zicky Dice. I know you have an issue with him right now. We'll get to that in a different segment someday, maybe. But I think Zicky Dice, because it brings the TV title in then as well. That's why I think it needs more than just 10 pounds of gold. So I'm going the NWA way. Question Mark and Zicky Dice.
I'm going to go with Davey Boy Smith Jr. Would love to see him in it. Maybe with costume options of honoring his father in the Bulldogs. And I keep going back to this because I've seen their matches. I would love to see the Von Erich boys in it.
So you're throwing 3 out there.
I'm throwing a tag team and a singles.
That's fair.
That's fair. John?
I don't know if he's on there. I would go with Shooter Stevens.
He is not.
He's not. I'd like to see him on there, and then maybe a little old school NWA. I'd like to see Magnum TA on a video game.
Yeah. Good call.
And guys, John, talking to Magnum, if you guys haven't seen it or whatever, Magnum's documentary, I Never Gave Up. Boy, you want to talk about something that really hits the heart and where this guy's mind has been and everything. Pick it up, watch
Amazon,
it. Well worth it.
All right, this one is from our other podcast that we kind of work together with IWC. We bounce some stuff off. Well, I do. You guys don't know shit about this, but I bounce some stuff off of them. They bounce some stuff off of me. This is the question they brought to us, and this is really a thinker, guys. It really is. if you could change any outcome of any wrestling match in history, what would it be, and what would the landscape have changed in wrestling from there?
I'll go first. This is really minor, but it's irked me for years. WrestleMania 4, Greg the Hammer Valentine and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat in the tournament. Valentine wins just so they can set up a nice, quick heel babyface match in the next round for Randy Savage and Greg Valentine. I expected Steamboat to win that match and face Macho Man in the next round. Macho Man wins, two good guys, and it's sort of a rematch from the previous year, which is for the Intercontinental Championship. And funny thing is, I heard an interview recently where the Dragon was bummed. He could tell he was on his way out, but he really the only reason he wanted to win round 1 was to return the favor to the Macho Man in round 2, and he thought it was dumb that they didn't book it that way. I agree. I would have rather have seen Steamboat win that match. Does it change anything for the greater landscape? Macho Man still wins the tournament, but he proves that maybe the previous year he should have won if it weren't for George the Animal Steel.
That was from the Dark Match podcast, by the way. I forgot to give him that. So, what's your thoughts?
This one's easy for me. The Shawn Michaels Bret Hart Montreal Screwjob would never have had it happen. I would have found, if they don't have, Shawn Michaels didn't deserve it. He was a prick. He screwed everybody over. Have Bret, there's numerous people that they could have had Bret drop the title to, everything like that. I would have done everything and anything. Just change this. This gave Shawn unlimited power to be a douche and treat everybody by a douche because he knew Vince was behind them.
Mine would be Owen Hart getting a set of nuts to talk to Vince to say, hey, I don't feel comfortable kind of doing this. It's not a match, but it sets up what we talked about a couple weeks ago. Owen against Benoit, Owen against Guerrero, Owen against, all these people. Owen just, standing up for himself and saying, no, I don't want to do that. I'll do the Blue Blazer gimmick. I don't want to do that. Just something that Owen Hart's, one, still alive now, and the mass amounts of matches of the year candidates that we would have had. So mine would have been that Owen Hart.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. This next one is from Dean from Ohio. They don't like putting last names. Not one person put a last name. A lot came to like the email accounts or from the direct messages, and nobody has Mark Martinez as their name. It's like Dean Geo1654. Not that I know who the hell Dean is, so sorry, Dean, I'm making fun of your name.
Well, they could be a wanted felon. They could, they could be part of the Dark Order, and they don't want to give that secret away.
Touche.
Where does Dean Malenko live? Maybe
it's Dean Malenko. Oh my God, maybe. Dean says, you guys talk about Britt Baker and Wardlow from IWC to AEW a lot. What are the major differences you see now from then? I think Dean goes to IWC. I think Dean goes to IWC, so he kind of wants to know what's up. Because he's from Ohio. It's right across the border. He's probably just pulling our shit. But, all right, whatever.
Pulling our shit. Okay. I went first last time. I'm happy to go again if you want.
Of course you're always happy to go first.
Okay. Well, with Britt, obviously, she's a bad guy now. And, I would say, I didn't see this in her, but I'm being perfectly honest, a touch, I did see this in her. She was a sweet person, but I saw the potential for this. But what's different about her now, I think she's a better wrestler now. I think she's got a much better character. We knew she was a dentist in IWC, but that's really come to the forefront.
Yeah, but they didn't tell us at IWC, really.
Didn't they?
They never said that she was. Well, because actually, she really wasn't a dentist until
She was studying at the time.
Right. See, so she.
Yeah. Well, no, they did introduce her one time when she graduated, remember? And everybody kind of gave her a big round of applause. They introduced her as Britt Baker DDS. All right, we're getting off subject.
DMD. Get it right.
DMD. What's the difference? Does anybody know?
Maybe
we got to get Britt on the show to figure it out.
Right.
Anyway, Isaac Yankem was the DDS. I'm sorry.
Right. There's a big difference.
Yeah. No, she's a better wrestler. She's a great villainess. With Wardlow, we haven't seen a whole lot of them in the ring. And to be perfectly honest, there's not a lot of difference because when he left as a good guy. When he showed up on AEW, he was back to his villainous ways. There's not a whole lot of difference in him from IWC to AEW, in my opinion.
I got to go a little bit different with, again, Wardlow. I think we haven't been able to see in AEW what we did in IWC. Obviously, the flips off the rope, more of his personality. So he's being kind of, I don't want to say held back.
Not that way. I know.
Not in a negative
way. Just held in check.
He's kind of being brought on slow. With Britt, just like a flower blossoming. It's like she's hit her stride as a bitch, and she's just gone with it.
I'll take both sides of your Brit stuff and say yes. There was a little bit of a Brit heel turn in Rise as she was getting ready to leave Rise, where she beat the living snot out of Chelsea Green. So if you watched all of that, you saw that Britt had this bitch in her. You know, she's from the Tri-County. You know, we know her. From Punxsutawney, where So she's got that little bit of a bitch in her. Just getting the DMD diploma now, certificate that now she's a role model. She's much better than us now. So I saw it, that she had it, but it's blossomed, like Chad said. Same aspect for Wardlow. I think he's being held in check, is my air quotes for the show. But I think it's because much bigger things are going to happen. And I'm glad he's bad again.
Go ahead.
No, not yet. As a human being, he's a wonderful guy because we've talked to what he's done with all our kids. He's hung out. His mother yelled at him because he scared John's kid at one point. He's a wonderful human being. He looks better bad. Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, that's a great story that I've told on here, where his last match in IWC, he was signing some autographs, and I saw his mom, and I got as far as, "Are you Wardlow's mother?" And then she's like, "Oh, I remember you. Where's your son?" And meanwhile, it had been 4 or 5 years. But anyway, I told that story here. One key difference, he was more of a cocky bad guy in IWC. So while he did some of the things we see now in AEW, and taking the top part of his
singlet.
Singlet. Thank you. While taking the top part of his singlet down and playing like, the beastly, ferocious villain, there were moments in IWC where he had a smirk, like he was enjoying himself, pummeling this guy, and then he would snap into that crazed
a Slim Jim
bad guy. He'd snap into a Slim Jim, right? In the couple of matches he's had, we haven't seen the arrogance that we saw in IWC. Not yet, anyway.
Good word. Yeah, good word. Anything else? We good? No. All right. Moving along, Mike from Pennsylvania. What is your all-time favorite wrestling story for each of you? So I don't know. That's all he sent. I don't know. Does he mean like us going on a trip or wrestling story? So I'm going to spin it. Shut your face, Atlanta. I'm going to spin it that it's all-time favorite wrestling story on a trip that we went to. Who wants to, of course, he wants to go first.
Well, tough. I'm going first.
Okay.
Well,
save me for last.
On a trip, just because this was the first time that I saw you guys in well, not Mark in years, but first time I saw John in years.
And now you regret it.
Super. Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm negotiating my contract here too. So, was the Super Indie where Adam Cole won the title, Britt Baker had her title, and when we went up for pictures, my little boy just wanting to get in there.
Shout out, by the way, happy belated birthday to Vinny, if he's going to listen to us. It was his birthday
He'll listen to us later.
So, yeah, happy birthday, Vinny.
But he went up there, and they're like, can we pick him up for the picture? And I was like, I was kind of, a little bit stunned. I was like, sure. And they actually held him up just like he was.
They coddled him.
Their own kid, and, both of them leaned into him and everything. Every time he sees that picture, he just beams. He's just, that made his day. That's the best time he's ever had at wrestling. That was the best time I've ever had.
John wants to go last. That's fine. I really don't know which one he's going to say. Was I on it with you, first of all? Was I there?
Yep.
What?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
So I'll leave. Wait. So mine can go, I enjoyed WrestleCade. I enjoyed some trips with John all over the world. But honestly, one of my favorite things is we are in high school, maybe first year of college or whatever. Raw's coming to State College. And John, was it you or Pat that were with me that... you have to wait for Ticketmaster to open at 8 o'clock in the morning.
That was Pat.
All right. We almost got killed. Again, we almost got killed. And it's 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. There's a line of people sitting outside of Unimart back at the time, and it gets robbed. And the guy runs in. I don't know if he had a gun or whatever. Everybody goes looking for this guy. All right. Pat's shitting himself because he doesn't know what to do. But the other people are calling the cops, going to look for him. Get ready for the big reveal. I'm such a douchebag.
You just wanted your tickets.
I go in, and I'm like, are you all right? Yeah. I'm like, is everything going to be all right? Are we going to be able to get tickets in the morning? And this is literally 4 hours before tickets go on sale. I'm worried that he didn't steal the ticket machine or something because I'm that much of a douchebag.
You have your priorities. At least you asked the person working there if he was all right first.
It was a woman. It was a woman. Okay. Yeah, it was a woman. I do remember that. And I'm like, are you guys have to shut down, or are we going to be able to get tickets in the morning or whatever? She's like, I'm fine and whatever, and so many more adjectives I could add on to this, but. That's one that always sticks in my head. Yeah, there's so many favorites.
I thought better of you up until that story. I thought some of the things I did with wrestling was a dick move, but that was pretty good.
I'm an asshole overall. You guys know that wholeheartedly. For 30 years plus, John can tell you that I'm the biggest dick he knows. Go ahead, John.
So in 2013, we go to Big Time Wrestling to meet Ric Flair. And we're in line, and you hand your ticket to the ticket collector who tears it and gives you back your half, along with your ticket to meet Ric Flair. So Mark gave the guy the ticket. This was on him. The guy never gave Mark back his portion of the ticket. But he sends us to the line for Ric Flair, which was on a raised stage. We get there. Mark realizes he doesn't have his ticket. Ric Flair is sitting right in front of him. Mark is freaking out trying to find his ticket. He empties his pockets in front of Ric Flair.
Like a homeless man.
Huh?
Like a homeless man. I literally had it.
At that point, Flair's got to be asking himself how it came to this. He's dumping everything out. He's like, shit, I don't know what to do with my ticket. I don't have my ticket. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? So he asks me, John, can we just do one picture together, you and me? I was like, oh, God, I'm never going to get this chance again. I don't know. I turned to Pat, who either heard the question or knew what I was going to ask, and I said, this is the Rated R Can Crush. I said, Pat, can Mark? And that's as far as I got. He goes, no. So Mark's on his own now. So he's telling the guy, look, I don't think that guy ever gave me my ticket back. And the guy's like, don't worry about it. Just go. Mark's determined to get the the guy's like, just go. Mark's got to go find the guy that didn't give him his ticket back. By this point, the guy's like, look, 200 people have come through since. I don't know where your ticket is. So he jumps back in line. The guy's like, don't worry about it. Just get your autograph. He gets his autograph and his picture. We're sitting down front row, and Mark sees the guy that took the tickets and pulls him aside. Mind you, we've gotten our autographs and pictures. Who gives a shit anymore? He asked the guy, did you ever find my ticket so I can give it to him? The guy's like, no, who gives a shit? You got your stuff. Don't worry about it. But the image of Mark dumping all of the contents of his pockets in front of Ric Flair is something I'll never forget.
This package cost us. I fronted it. I'm not. You guys did repay me. This package was for 2 people to get an autograph and picture was $300. So we had we had the Rated R Can Crusher and Jack, who of anybody, the son of a bitch didn't care about wrestling at all. He wouldn't give it up because because his cat wears Ric Flair robes once in a while. I don't know. He wouldn't give it to me. They all just were like, oh, go fuck yourself. You're not going to get our Ric Flair stuff. That's why $600 later, I'm like, what am I going to do? What the hell am I going to do? I brought these jack-offs down here. We did get to go to Al's Tavern, so that was a bonus. But my life for about 15 minutes ended because I didn't know what to do. I never ended up getting the ticket, or then I was scared because they said they're going to check front row tickets. I didn't.
There was that. You're right. Right.
I didn't have my seat ticket either. I gave them everything.
Yep.
Yep.
That was on him for not giving it back to you. But when he looked at you, he kind of remembered and realized he messed up and was just trying to tell you don't worry about it. But, yeah, I guess there was no going and finding that ticket now.
Yeah, no, not 7 years later.
Well, no, I meant in that moment, like an hour later or whatever.
Hey, maybe that guy is listening to the podcast. Please contact Mark if you found the ticket. He's CanCrusher69@gmail.com. He hasn't let go of this. He's in counseling about it. Please contact him.
All right, we're moving along. With the TNT championship being crowned, does he become the #1 contender for the heavyweight championship? And why hasn't MJF cashed in his ring yet for a title shot? That is from Dwayne from West Virginia.
Who wants to go first?
I say no. It doesn't make it to #1. They can't make it to #1, especially with Cody having it, because he is not allowed to fight for the world title. Why hasn't MJF cashed it in?
Was that part of the stipulation?
I remember hearing that. It was basically their form of Money in the Bank.
Okay,
is what it was. Why hasn't he cashed it in? Honestly, I think that they're saving him fighting for the world title a little bit longer, trying to get out of this pandemic crap that we're going into, and saving it for when the fans are back in.
But I'm just going to stir the pot, and I'll ask this to John now. How long does this ring have, does it have an expiration date? Or since shit's, it's wrestling, theoretically it's wrestling. I mean, Ric Flair defended the title all over the world, never lost it, da-da-da-da-da. You know what I'm saying? Storylines. Do we just wait until wrestling becomes normal again and then he can just cash it in?
I think so. I can't disagree with anything Chad said. I think that's probably the case. They're waiting for a crowd.
Yeah. He doesn't need a pop, but he deserves a pop, MJF, is what we're saying.
Yeah, he's one of these ones, granted, he can work in the ring. He's shown it without the crowd, but he's just one of the heels that having a crowd just makes him step up his prick game even more. And plus, there's more people for him to screw with.
Yeah, I agree. NWA WCW actively named the U.S. champion as the number one contender all the time, right? You knew they were the top person. WWF didn't really do that with the Intercontinental title back in the day. It was kind of its own thing. I think that's what the TNT Championship's going to be. I don't think it's necessarily the top contender for the AEW World Championship.
I'm there with both of you. I actually hope that it's not the number one contender. I think, just what Chad said in the reference to the IC title. Okay.
And as ugly as that belt is, they need to do some work on it.
Yeah, they still have not worked on it yet.
Yeah.
This is from Sarah in Ohio. What is your favorite wrestling game?
Video game? Board game?
Let's go. I don't care. Whatever you want to say. Not WWE 2K20. Not that. That's pretty rough.
Oh, man. For me, I have to go with the tie. I'm sorry. Pro Wrestling and Tecmo World Wrestling are tied for first place as far as video games go. And as far as board games go,
are you getting it out?
Superstar Wrestling. I'm getting it out. The Superstar Wrestling game. You guys, can you see that?
I do.
Yeah. I could just kind of do the flipperoo and rather than.
Yeah, but you mess up your phone. Don't, because you mess up your phone.
I won't do that. I won't do that. The Superstar Wrestling game was an awesome game, and I got to give a shout out to my buddies. We used to play this all the time when I lived in New York. My friend Joe Oliva had this game, and I used to play with him and his brother. And I mentioned this on the show. His brother Nick actually invented the three-way dance, the triple threat, whatever you want to call it, years before we ever even had that match. I was hanging out with the boys, these brothers, and we wanted to play that game. And there were three of us, so we couldn't. So Nick says, how about we have like a three-way match? And I'm like, how the hell do you do that? He's like, well, two guys can be fighting, one guy interferes. I'm like, that's stupid. That'll never work. That's not even a thing. Anyway, I'm sorry, Nick. He invented the three-way dance. But that's a fun game, Superstar Wrestling. It's a dice game with cards. There's offense, defense, reversals, pins, submissions. Mark, we've played it.
Oh, yeah.
It's a hoot. A hoot from the 70s, probably all the way up until today. They're still making cards that you can order for this game.
Go ahead.
This one is going to be a little bit different. Def Jam Vendetta. If y'all remember that for PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, it wasn't a named wrestling game, but all it was guys just in there beating the hell out of each other, use chairs, use pipes, use wrestling moves. Look it up. It was actually, I thought it was a really great game.
I don't know. I like so many of them. I really do. I could name one from each console. The very first Pro Wrestling from Nintendo. Once they started with the Royal Rumbles, I liked those. As much as we made fun of it, John, WrestleMania Challenge, we stayed up for 37 hours to win the Tag Team Championship just to keep watching Jim Duggan run into the corner. Some of the ones, the arcade game ones where Razor's arm turns into a razor blade was horrible. I've played most every one of them. Fire Pro Wrestling was good. I'm going to say, I'll probably get heat for this. It was good. Now that they've done another application or something that it's another like $100 to get that, I don't want the DLC. Maybe this was a kick to say, hey, Retromania again. I'm really excited for Retromania, what they're going to do. There's the virtual basement that's signing people coming. That's next year's game coming out. I don't know. At one point, I loved them all. Until, like, even WWE 2K20, I was excited for it because it was featured on the Four Horsewomen. I couldn't wait to get it. And then when Sasha gets stuck in the ropes and she looks, it's bad. I give everyone a chance. But Dice Game, and this is, I think, we actually use the YouTube. Once shit opens back up, it's called John, I sent it to you. Book It. It's called Book It. If you've seen it on Facebook or whatever, it's $40, and like I think minimum 4 people can play it, maybe 2, whatever. But you all have your own independent wrestling contract, your own promotion, and it's a dice game, and it could, we'll hook up that we can play that for them on the YouTube page for a couple hours or something. That would be fun because we'd have a blast playing it. I really think so. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, that's a great question because it involves both wrestling and video games, and that nerds me out. This next one comes from Larry in Tennessee. If you could go for drinks with just one wrestler ever and not talk wrestling, who would you pick?
That's a great question.
No wrestling's about. You cannot talk wrestling.
Oh shit!
That's a great question. Some of these are from a couple weeks ago that I've kind of forgot were on here. This was one of them.
We've had drinks with wrestlers, and we did nothing but talk about wrestling to the point where we just irritated the shit out of those guys. I'd go back to Roddy Piper. I just feel like he was a good person, genuinely cared about people. We met him, Mark, and it wasn't so much about wrestling. From our end, it was. Hey, we saw you here, we saw you there, you were great. From his end, it was, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your mother and father. You guys married. You have children. It was incredible. He just seemed like the kind of person who can touch another person's soul, who can really reach down to what means the most to that other person.
Yeah.
Wow. This is a really hard one. I'm gonna go back to Magnum TA. I think talking to him about the struggles that he had with after the accident and, through now and his family and his faith and everything, I think it would be Magnum.
I can say that I've had a couple drinks with Al Snow, and we really didn't talk wrestling. We just pulled a lot of punches on Chad Miller, the other owner of OVW. That was fun. That could happen again in the future, and I hope so, because Chad's a good sport, but man, does Al come with one-liners.
Al seems like the one-liner type.
He is. He really is. I'm going to go now, and you guys are going to be like, what? There's something about Nick Aldis that, I could get past wrestling with him. I think he's genuinely a good guy. Not disagreeing with either one of yours. I would hope that we could all go on all of them together. But I think Nick Aldis could bring something to the table. I think he'd just be a nice guy to talk to. I watch his Facebook with him and Mickey and his son. He's a good family man. From what I see on there, and I know everybody can hide behind Facebook and do whatever. I'm not saying anything bad about him, but what he portrays on his Facebook with him and his wife and his family, all this would be great.
There's some people that you can pick that up that they're full of crap on their Facebook and stuff like that, like Zicky Dice, Punk. But Aldis is one that you get a good feeling about him. Yeah. He's just very down to earth and everything.
John, are you making coffee?
No, I told you Roddy Piper was my answer.
No, I thought you're roaming around your house. I thought you were going to make coffee.
No, my wife just brought me a cup.
That was very nice. Cheryl's a great woman.
That is very nice. She is. She's wonderful.
Besides the Horsemen, name one faction that you would want to be a part of and why. Kyle from Pennsylvania.
Dangerous Alliance.
Wow.
No ifs, ands, or buts. The talent level that was on there, Rude, Eaton, Anderson, Dangerous Alliance, easily.
The Nation of Domination.
What?
Like, as the guy, one of these things is not like the others. It was funny when Owen was in the Nation.
It was.
I'd like to kind of play that part, the guy that doesn't really belong, but still maybe brought something. Like, he brought his wrestling skills. He and The Rock were believable as a tag team, you know?
Mine would be DX.
I'd join the nation.
Mine's DX.
You're fired.
Why is mine DX? They like the drink, they like the party, they were all complete douchebags. It fits my persona perfectly. And I was a big crotch chopper back in the day.
I'll bet you were.
Wow. This one is from Scott in Minnesota. Scott says, what is or was your favorite gimmick weapon that a wrestler brought to the ring? For example, Can Crusher's friend Al Snow brought head. What did you like that was always brought to the ring? You got to go first, Chad said.
I'll go first. The nightstick. All I have to do is say nightstick, and you know who I mean.
Boss man.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That fit him perfectly. He was a cop or corrections officer, whatever his job was. It was used as a weapon when he was a bad guy after every match. He would defeat his opponent and then beat him with the stick.
Mine is Terry Funk and the branding iron. I loved after the match, you know, he was branded with the double cross ranch. So the branding iron, it did so much. But my favorite, Terry Funk, I want to stop for a minute, wrestled some great matches. A wonderful wrestler. Yeah, we've seen him too. The only thing I ever remember was Terry Funk when the ring attendant put his hat on and then Funk just beat the living snot out of him.
Yep.
Favorite Funk memory.
Mel Phillips.
Yeah.
Oh, yep. This was the first one to come to my mind.
If you say racket, you're getting shut off.
Was Thunderfoot and his loaded boot.
Yes!
I just thought of that because here's this boot that, you know, is like an inch going around the foot, but on the heel it was like 6 inches of, you know, playing up the loaded boot angle. There was no better than that. Come on.
John didn't know about him for the longest time until I told him. And then he lost the match because he ended up kicking himself in the head most of the time.
Yeah, I remember the one time he kicked the ring rope, the middle ring rope, and it come back and kicked him in the ass. And he was hopping around the ring and he got rolled up from behind.
This is from Candy in Kentucky. You guys talk about managers last Ask Can Crushers, but who is your favorite valet this time?
Valet.
So if we go by what Matt Bish said, all right, because he was on a couple times, kind of told us what he said. Valet is somebody that literally just, we're no disrespect, stands outside, kind of a cheerleader, cheers for him, doesn't get involved as much. He threw Elizabeth out because she has done more than just valet. But that's what Matt Bish, marvelous Matt Bish, has said that kind of what a valet is.
All right. I will have to go then into the way, way back machine and say I have no idea what the guy's name was, but whoever accompanied Gorgeous George to the ring. Because all the guy did was, like, you know, roll out the carpet and spray the ring and, like, comb his hair and take his robe, and that's it. That was his valet. That's what he did, and he was great at it. Made sure everything was beautiful. He was beautiful for his fight. So I got to go with that guy.
You're going to have to go. I am having a hard time picking.
I was always a fan of Precious. I don't think she squirted the Febreze. It wasn't Febreze back then. I don't know what the hell it was. It wasn't Lysol either. Probably Glade, because Lysol comes straight out of the can. Glade kind of comes up at an angle.
Yep.
Whatever.
Good
so
point.
she squirted the Glade around and everything. Once in a while, you did shoot it in the eyes, but you really never got physical. So mine would be Precious.
I got nothing.
The things you obsess over, like if it was Blade or Pledge or Endust, when Rick Rude attacked Roddy Piper because Piper said Rude had bad breath, and then Rude jumped him and, like, squirted toothpaste in his eyes and spit mouthwash in his eyes, Mark couldn't rest until he figured out which toothpaste and mouthwash they were. Insisted they were Crest and Scope. Who gives a shit? The point is, he's got toothpaste in his eyes.
Toothpaste
But
hurts.
Mark had to know what brand they were.
Toothpaste hurts on like carpet burns as well.
Okay. So which one of these issues, John, has Mark held on too long? The ticket from Big Time Wrestling or the mouthwash and toothpaste?
Probably the ticket. That's a bigger deal.
Yeah, it really is.
If I'm going to go with one that wasn't interfering or didn't do anything, you got Big Mama with Jimmy Valiant.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Distracting just for obvious reasons, walking around the ring, but she never got involved in a match that I remember.
All right, Chad, you have a question actually to throw at us, so that we're going to kind of put a spin on this real quick. You said, hey, I want to bring a question to the table for me and John to answer. Then you have to answer it yourself as well.
Okay, no problem. If there was truly a legitimate Hall of Fame that encompassed, everybody, it wasn't exclusive, how do you feel about people being included or excluded because of a criminal record? Now, I want to preface that by saying I'm not talking, not that it's not bad, but I'm not talking DUIs and stuff like that.
You're going to Benoit right off the bat.
Yeah, well, Benoit, obviously the worst one to come to mind. Jimmy Snuka, who didn't go to trial for his because he was deemed incompetent. And then you have the Puerto Rican cover-up with Carlos Colon and the Invader and Bruiser Brody's murder, which the trial was a sham. And I bring this up because you don't, obviously Benoit will never see the WWE. Colon, should he have been in there? So let's just back out of WWE. You have a Hall of Fame. Does their talents override their crime? How do you work that?
Let me go first. Mine's going to be quick and simple. I'm one that prior like the ring experience, I'll reference it to Pete Rose. Probably my best way. What Pete Rose did on the field should have him in the Hall of Fame. Okay? What he did outside, he was managing and betting. Okay, you don't go in as a manager, whatever. If I get slack on this, I get slack. Whatever they did in the ring should be what gets them into the Hall of Fame. What they did outside of the ring should be left alone. This is a Sports Hall of Fame. It's not a Life Hall of Fame. What happens if, I'm not going to name a name, wrestler X that's in the Hall of Fame right now does what Benoit did or what Snuka did or anything. I bet you can't name half of the wrestlers that are in there sometimes in the WWF Hall of Fame.
Well, look, remember what they did with Hulk Hogan, though? When he had his
pulled him out.
Racial comments, they jerked him out. He wasn't in the Hall of Fame, but then
he slid back in.
He slid back in later.
Yeah. So I say it's all on the talent and in the ring. Outside life, if he did it before he became wrestling, he would have never been a wrestler, I think. So, yeah.
If Hulk Hogan said what he said today and we're up and coming, that would be it. Because one of my favorites, Jessica Havoc, and not to get off subject here, but Jessica Havoc has had a hard time cracking that egg of major success because of a mistake she made as a young woman, with a tweet or something that was offensive to some people or to a people, and that was it. That was it for her, and she's still paying the price for that. But Mark, I'm going to disagree with what you said. I think what people do in their personal lives, to an extent, should affect whether or not they're in a Hall of Fame. WWE, in my opinion, doesn't have a whole lot of character. If you're going to boot somebody for something, they didn't undo it. Hulk Hogan apologized immediately. But if you're going to stand your ground, why is he back in? I don't understand that. To answer your question about Carlos Colon, I kind of saw him from time to time, on a blurry UHF channel trying to watch Championship Wrestling from Florida, trying to watch Jim Crockett when he would show up in those promotions. Good. Great? I don't think so. I don't know why he's in there in the first place. And then a murder took place in his promotion, which, he didn't really exactly do his best to help that along. I can't believe the police thought it was a work. Like, you guys know when someone's guts are really oozing out versus pretend oozing out? That's ridiculous. I don't think Carlos Colon ought to be in there. I think there are certain things you can do that are so heinous that surpass any other good you've done, any other success you've had, that ought to exclude you from some greater recognition. I think killing your girlfriend's one of those things.
Nope.
I think killing your family is one of those things. And I think not doing everything you can to assist an investigation of something that happened in your promotion is also one of those things. And this may get me flack. My personal opinion, I could see why they separated from Hulk Hogan. I don't think those words, as terrible as they were, match the actions of the other three people where lives were cost. I think it's the same thing.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Your quick thoughts on it.
I'm in the middle. I agree more with John because of there are certain things, the Chris Benoits and along those lines that pull you out of people really caring that you're in there. Is a way to put it. I think something like that should. However, something you're talking about Pete Rose gambling or statements made 30 years ago or something like that, I think is crap.
Right. Okay.
I think they should be in there, and it breaks my heart because I was a huge Benoit fan, but I can totally understand them not having him in there.
I do too.
But what I don't understand is because Vince has a hard-on for people that speak up to him and stuff, that guys like the British Bulldog and Ivan Koloff are not in the WWE Hall of Fame. Those guys should have been. I mean, Ivan Koloff, your father put the title on him. Bruno wanted the title to go to Koloff. And the Bulldog, it's just, it depends, I think, just last statement, it depends on the situation and the severity. If it's something, I don't want to say drinking and driving is minor, but if it's things like that along those lines, I don't think it should exclude them. Okay. Now, if it's taken somebody's life or something like that, yes. The Jimmy Snuka, I don't want to say he got away with it, but he did because of his mental stability. He didn't go to court. Benoit, you obviously know that. Colon and Gonzalez covered up the murder. Then in the court, they never sent anything for any witnesses. You can go to Dutch Mantel and anybody else. And then on top of that, in court, they portrayed and used Brody's craziness in the wrestling, which they drew money from. They used that to portray him as a maniac
in the ring.
And that was, I don't know, and I'm going to say whoever was on that jury, that was bullshit. If you didn't understand the difference, you're an idiot.
All right, moving along. That's the whole subject right there. Brantley from West Virginia wants to know who your favorite masked wrestler was.
Boy. The first one I can remember was the Masked Superstar. And I was invested in him as a character. Mil Mascaris was coming through the WWF at the time. Didn't really intrigue me. And right around that same time, we took a family trip to Mexico. which made me fall in love with the masked wrestler because I made my dad spoke some Spanish, and I made him ask perfect strangers when wrestling was on TV because I needed to watch it. And they explained like when and what time. And it was all about the masks and taking the masks off. And, you know, you do it to a bad guy and it's great. They deserve it. You do it to a good guy. Oh my God, you feel terrible. It was just some of the most fun I've ever had watching wrestling was in Mexico. Almost every match revolved around the mask and it added a fun element. But I would say my introduction and probably my favorite is the Masked Superstar because it became a challenge. It became his title. He was like, I dare anyone to take this from me. You know, Sheik had just beaten back on a turnaround and lost to Hogan. He pointed out Santana just beat Morocco. No one can hold on to anything. I've held on to my title longer than anybody. Nobody can take this off of me. So that became a thing.
Chad?
The James boys from NWA. People always said they come out with their black masks and everything like that and their cowboy outfits. People always said it was Magnum TA and Dusty Rhodes. It wasn't Magnum TA and Dusty Rhodes. That was the James boys.
You stole some of my thunder there because I was going to say two of my favorite masked wrestlers that I liked that wore masks were the Midnight Rider and the Blue Blazer. Well, we knew that was Dusty Rhodes and Owen Hart. You have the likes of John, one of other John's favorite, La Parka. He liked that. You had Rey Mysterio. You had those names. Jushin Thunder Liger was probably one of my favorites all the time because it was a different mask. His was the first one that I remember was like a full mask. His hair was kind of out, but then he had his horns. It wasn't just like, no disrespect to the Masked Superstar, just a mask. You know, there was something with them. So Jushin was probably my favorite.
You know, you should feel bad because you did not say the question mark.
Well,
what is wrong with you?
I know.
To your credit, Mark, before the gimmick of the Blue Blazer came back, early on, 88-ish, 89, whenever he showed up, you knew it was him right away, and I wouldn't believe it. You were like, and I don't know, like, where you even
Stampede
saw much footage of him, but yeah, you were like, look, he's got this, the thing Jericho noticed, honest to God, listeners, the stars and the flip off the ropes. When Jericho said, oh my God, that's Owen Hart, Mark was like, oh my God, that's Owen Hart. It never dawned on me, and when Mark told me, I'm like, oh, he's pretending to know things. You were right. All these years, 30 years later, let me say you were right.
For the first and only time, John.
Yep. This one, I added this question. Gus must just be a new listener to the show, and welcome, Gus. He wants to know if we'd ever do a live call-in show. I add this one because John and I had the show, and I think you actually called in a couple times.
Yeah. We
were doing it on, I don't even remember what night it was. It was on a different platform than
Thursday nights.
Thursday nights. It was on a different platform than what we were on. And then kind of school hit and life hit and da-da-da-da-da. And would we go back to this? I enjoyed it. It was an hour, but we kind of weren't in control of it. We had other people behind the mix of the scenes of running something. I love the banter we get, but the clusterfuckism that isn't really a word, it's a Martinez word, was uncontrollable. So if we could run our own call-in show, yes, I would love it. I would love to promote it however we can, but it's just Chad's going to give us some money. Hold on a minute. Go ahead.
I got an idea. Why couldn't we set up a time, have fans that want to call in, and when I say, I can't think of a different way to put it, schedule an appointment time for somebody to call in. You tape it. That way you're in control, and if something gets out of control, I mean, if, Al Snow says he's going after Chad Miller, I mean, we're still probably going to put that one on, but
right.
You control it and have it like a one-on-one, just like your interviews that we do, but not obviously as long. Give it a 10-minute time limit or something like that.
I'd like to give you a 10-minute time limit sometime. John, what do you have to say about it?
It was a fun experience. what Mark is referencing is the fact that we were not in charge. We were the second half of one show. So there was always that issue of when the one show finished, we had to jump right on immediately. You guys, it couldn't be a second too early and it couldn't be a second too late. Or you jumped in as a caller almost in the previous show, or there was dead air by the time the second show started. So it was a little difficult in that regard. Also, the first half wasn't wrestling related. It was more sports related, which is absolutely fine. And it was sport, and they're different things. They're different. You relate to them differently. Like, you can get excited about football, but do you really mark out about football the way Mark and I mark out about pro wrestling? Probably not. So you had the first half that was a little more subdued, like stats, and here's what I see in this game and what I think will happen. And then you had
two idiots screaming.
So it was a different dynamic that it was difficult for us to kind of get the energy kicked in for listeners in the second half. Would we do it again? With my lack of knowledge of what's going on today, being that I watch almost entirely just AEW, and I'll certainly watch NWA when that's back full-time, maybe I could be someone you pull out of a vault from time to time for a historical question, or if somebody needs help with their English homework. I'm happy to.
This one was a setup question, so I put it in here. I don't know who set it up. Might be your wife again. Can the English professor continue to name more teams better than the Road Warriors? The next question was, you guys always talk about wrestlers that take their time with you and treat you nice. If you ever met anybody that just rubbed you the wrong way and just wanted your money? Do we have?
Can I go first?
Do we have stories? Go ahead.
So you remember the ring announcer from Big Time Wrestling?
Yes. I don't remember his name, but yes.
Oh, Sean Odomsky. I'm going to name him. He and I got into it again on Facebook, and he blocked me. So Sean Odomsky was being Sean Odomsky. And he's on a thread, and there are people on this thread, you could just tell, English is not their first language, whatever, it's fine. They're very nice people, and they're like, hey, I think Kurt Hennig was Mr. Perfect. And he's on there. No shit, dickhead, and stuff like just being himself. Just being his usual miserable self. And I was like, if you are who I think you are, if you're the ring announcer, why are you like this? And he said, you're that, I don't know, liberal Democrat who didn't get what he wanted from Jake Roberts. I'm like, holy shit, this guy remembers me. Meanwhile, if anybody cares, I'm not a registered Democrat. That's neither here nor there.
Right. What?
But the situation with Jake Roberts, he insisted that I did not have a ticket, that I demanded free autographs. That's just the furthest thing from the truth. I had 2 tickets for 2 autographs. I was going to get my LJN signed, and I was going to get my Jake Roberts DVD signed. This was a dream for me because I loved him. I loved his psychology in the ring. The guy could not have been a bigger douchebag. Far and away, of everyone I've ever met, some people were very gracious with their time. Some people were shorter with their time. I've never met a bigger dickhead than Jake the Snake Roberts. That's just the truth. He refused to sign my autographs unless I bought a T-shirt. I was like, Jake, I don't want a T-shirt. You owe me these autographs. He's like, I'm not signing that. And guys, he went to the bathroom and marked air quotes, and he was gone for a while. And when he came back, he wasn't the same. That's all I'll say. Wouldn't sign my autographs. I had to go. I went to Ted DiBiase. He looked at my ticket that I purchased online, showed it to his agent. Agent said, yeah, that's legit. I said, who handles Jake Roberts? They pointed me in the right direction. I said, sir, I got these 2 tickets. He finally was like, Jake, you got to sign these for the kid. And he's like, fine, give me your stuff. And he scribbled his name on it quickly, and he was just an asshole. And these little kids came running up and started to talk to him. And he was like, no, hold on, kids. You're being rude. I think this guy here has something he wants to say to me. And I was like, no, you know what? I'm done. Nice meeting you. Thank you. But he was an asshole, guys. And hopefully he's changed. I heard he's changed. I enjoy him on AEW, you guys. He's doing great stuff. He's proven why he's one of the best at in-ring psychology. when I met him, could not have been more disappointed.
I think I know where Chad's going to go. I'm going to piggyback that story because, John, you went to Big Time Wrestling in Ford City or someplace like that, right?
Yep, April 25th.
The next night, which for some reason we couldn't go to the same event, the next night it was in Altoona. So my wife, my son, and myself went. I was on the same thing. I got the picture. It's a 10 by 16 or whatever, signed Jake picture. Printed out the pre-sale things, da-da-da-da-da. Got up there. He's like, you want to buy a shirt? Same story. I just like, no. How about you get a picture then? Well, your wife's got to sit on my lap. So it was strange. It was strange. Kelly sat on his lap. We got a picture. The other one is, and guys, you guys know this one. Virgil is unrelenting. One of the next times at Big Time Wrestling, I only needed $1 Million Man. Because we met Virgil in 96 in Johnsonburg or whatever. Whatever. We got a picture with him then. That's when he was now he's broke Mike Jones. So I'm like, Virgil, I already have you. Yeah, but you want me and DiBiase now. And Ted is already signed. I'm just now standing in line to go see Mickey James. And Virgil's he's handing me stuff. Just once. He's, people walk away from him. Talent walks away from him because they don't want to sit because he's just pushy. So those are my two.
He stops just short of pulling $20 out of your wallet.
Yeah, he really does.
He stops just short of mugging you.
Big Time Wrestling took all the kids down. Mick Foley was there. Didn't talk. He'd say hi, take a picture, and scoot you away. I thought it was kind of rude considering what he cost. The worst one, Scott Steiner last year at WrestleCade. I buy online, and I'm like thinking, I haven't really liked them for a long time, but this is a Steiner's. I have my NWA tag belt. I want them signed. And I show him the pre-sale thing, and he's fine with it. And him and Rick sign it, and I'm like, can I get the picture with the belt? And he's like, that'll be another $60. And I'm like, it says for every 30, I get a autograph and a picture. It literally says that. The dude shoots me the look, and I'm like, okay, whatever, thanks, have a nice day. I was literally scared he was going to roid out and beat the piss out of me.
And that's why I didn't walk over to the table with you, because
I was like thinking, Mark, why the hell isn't Mark up here with me? And then I'm like thinking, no, he's got my back because when Steiner attacks him, he can hit him with a chair or something.
I was over talking to Adam.
I was actually intimidated that this dude was going to freak out and beat the shit out of me. Yeah, never again.
So, Mark, you and I were in shop class together in 9th grade.
Oh, God.
And we had the audacity to, pick on the upperclassmen that were just, they were graduating and they were just taking a quick shop class, whatever, to fill an elective. They didn't pick on us. We picked on them to the point where we pushed them to violence. They'd had enough of us. We're not taking this from 9th graders. I bring this up for two reasons. I'm ashamed I picked on someone to the point where they had to get physical with me, which I absolutely deserved. But my brother, the middle brother, Tony, he had graduated, but the year before something, he was in a class with one of these guys. He took a class later, in his high school career. And he was friends with the one guy, the Mountie. But what hurt me more than one of the guys, slamming me to a locker was when the one guy said, I can't believe Tony's your brother. I'm telling you, I'm not being funny. That really crushed me. He's like, he was one of my best friends, and you're just a giant dickhead. And I was like, I have something to live up to here. You know what? If my brother is a good person, why am I an asshole? Maybe it was Mark. I don't know.
It probably was me.
I take responsibility for my actions. My point is, this is kind of the same thing. I've talked to Rick Steiner and purposely avoided Scott because of the stories I've heard. And then I've watched, not specifically Chad, but situations like that, where someone meets Rick and then immediately talks to Scott. You could almost see how uncomfortable Rick is. How are these guys brothers? You know? How are they brothers?
Yeah. All right, moving on. You guys talk about the territory area of wrestling. What territory do you wish you would have watched more of and why? Bill from Texas.
Texas, Dallas, without hesitation. I mentioned earlier I got some CWF and Jim Crockett kind of on my blurry rabbit ears television. Looking back, I wish I could have watched WCCW in real time. I still love to go back on the network and watch it. What an awesome territory.
Mine, I had more opportunities to watch WCCW because it was on ESPN. I don't know if I just choose not to. You guys know I'm a big AWA fan, so I did watch that. I would go back and watch WCCW, but the one I think, and I did, I started watching a lot of it on the network once they first put it on, was Mid-South. Man, I loved the Mid-South stuff. I really did. That's what I like. So I wish I would have saw that in real time.
Who knew Duggan was such a good bad guy, right?
Right.
I got to go with Florida circuit with Eddie Graham because of the talent. They came through there, stayed there longer than most territories where, usually you stayed in a territory for 6 months. You had guys in the Florida circuit that stayed there years. I just think that would be like the uncovered gem of the territory era if you could find more of that. This is from Doug from Michigan, and this one, I had to think about it for a minute. What do you think are the best and worst nicknames in wrestling? For example, the Lunatic Fringe. And he didn't tell me if he liked it or hated it. So, what's our best and worst? So it's not like they're like Akeem the African Dream. All right? Are we saying that's his nickname? Yeah, that would be.
All right, that would fit. All right, somebody go first.
Go ahead. I went first last time. Somebody.
The worst one by far was the tag team that Jim Herd brought into WCW, the Ding Dongs. They literally had bells on them, and when they'd get into the ring, they'd get their ass kicked, but there'd be bells everywhere, falling off of them and everything. The best one, I gotta go with Dean Ambrose. I like the Lunatic Fringe because you just don't know what the hell you're gonna get out of him.
Good.
I like the Virtuosa. I think that's a great name because it really captures elegance.
You're speaking of Deonna Purrazzo. Make sure
Deonna Purrazzo, yeah. It captures elegance. It captures virtue. I think it's a great name, and it sort of also captures her wrestling style, the chain wrestling, the hold-to-hold. That's a great name. Guys, it's so hard to come up with a name that really captures not just the character, but the person playing that character. She hit that one out of the ballpark. Names I've hated, I don't know why this came to mind, the Minnesota Wrecking Crew 2. Not only in G, not only in R. I'm talking when they put masks on the Beverly Brothers. Our boys! Why can't those guys were so good anywhere they went, and they were always repackaged. They brought them to Turner and put masks on them, and only found this team in Minnesota, and aren't they great? Just never bought it. I thought that was a dumb name.
I mentioned Akeem because I hated the gimmick. I hated the gimmick. It was horrible. So that's the one that I hate. One that I kind of try to stay fresh. I'll go with I like Aldous being called the National Treasure. I think that's cool. It's a little spin on the Nature Boy, so he's the national. Come on, they're playing homage completely down the line to NWA. So I'll go with Aldous because it's fresh in my mind. From Jay, and it was just a letter J, so I don't know if it's him or it could be Josephine. Maybe Aunt Josephine sent
Jam Master.
Jam Master.
And it's not Jay-Z?
It could be Jay-Z, too. Who the hell knows?
Jay-Z? Yeah, Aunt Josephine. Who knows?
What is your all-time favorite storyline? ... And worst, too.
All-time favorite. Holy moly.
Yeah, this is one maybe I should give you guys a little bit of time to think about.
Yeah, because there's so many good ones and there's so many bad ones too.
Let's just mention some because I really to pinpoint our favorite, it's got to be the moment. Like Magnum, Nikita's staring at me now. Magnum, Nikita, the 7-man. Chad just raises his hands. The 7-match. That's awesome. Steamboat and Savage, you brought up. That was great. I mean, all right, go ahead. I led you off.
Some bad ones, though. Look up and down the line of the Attitude Era. Sorry, guys. There was some absolute garbage.
Kai and Tai. Anything with Kai and Tai.
Kai and Tai chopping off Val Venus's dick was stupid.
Beaver cleavage.
And the Boss Man running around with the Big Show's dad's corpse. Just stupid. Stupid.
I'll name one that Al will be happy about. The kennel dog match where the dogs are supposed to be ferocious. You can go back and listen to it. We talk about it on the interview. The dogs are supposed to be ferocious. They're either outside shitting or peeing or mating with each other. So that's why the dogs are never actually shown during the match. Al hated that. He hated it.
Oh, my God.
I wonder why.
Yeah. Chad's out of this one.
You gotta, come on, bring up a couple more. You gotta give me a second here.
Let me look through some pictures.
Paul Orndorff versus Roddy Piper was a hot feud that stemmed from WrestleMania. When they left Orndorff in there, I never thought Orndorff would make a good guy. He was over huge as a good guy. They had some good brawls. The fans were way into those matches. Never a clean finish in any of them. Always DQs, double DQs. Orndorff and Piper was a hot storyline back in the day.
As much as you hated them, the Road Warriors and the Powers of Pain, the weightlifting where they were he got his head smashed off of the weights and he had to wear the hockey mask for a while. That carried it. If we're thinking of big feuds, anything with Flair and Dusty, I mean, we're just putting names together and we can come up with shit just to have Chad get a couple extra minutes and he can't think of anything.
No, I got a good one. This one is one I couldn't believe I just missed. But just looking up at your photos, the Midnight Express Fireball incident with Ronnie Garvin that brought, Ronnie Garvin burned, and Cornette made the comment about Ronnie Garvin's face went up like the Challenger, which caught a lot of shit. But they brought Jimmy Garvin in, and this is when they officially recognized that Ronnie and Jimmy were relation. They got it wrong; they weren't brothers. But that one was probably, honestly, one of my favorites. And then I got to go with Nikita and Magnum. The whole,
You hated that?
No, loved it. I love both of them, actually. But, Magnum, the babyface, good-looking American guy against the, Russian nightmare and having to overcome everything. Both great ones. I'll go with John on the crappiest ones. Triple H humping Kane's wife's corpse. Practically anything Shawn Michaels did. Yeah, that era was horrible.
We watched it. We watched it because we were. I'm going to mess up this word, and you can correct me. Pubescent teenagers.
Pubescent.
Yeah. Close enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Close enough.
Yeah, because we were all about tits and ass. Anytime Trish and Ivory or anybody came around, we're like, hey. So,
I just want to give a quick shout out to Zbyszko and Sammartino. I'd like to ask Jim Cornette, who's the historian, but that to me is one of the first times you built up a friendship just to have one person turn on the other. And the whole story, it went on and was beautifully told, with Zbyszko slowly turning, like, hey, I'm a good wrestler too. And Bruno's like, yeah, let's have an exhibition. Just hold for hold. We'll show the fans what we know how to do. And it kind of got heated a little bit. That was just great storytelling, where Bruno tried to take it easy on the kid, and Zbyszko's like, no, don't take it easy. And then culminated in a steel cage match where they shook hands afterwards. That was great storytelling, and that may have been, if not ahead of its time, a catalyst for Paul Orndorff turning on Hulk Hogan and Wyndham turning on Luger, et cetera, et cetera.
All right, this is the last Ask Can Crusher question from the people, because I know you have one, John. If you could pick your commercial, what an idiot. If I could pick how to learn how to read, it would probably help. If you could pick your promotion and job, where and what would it be? Otto from Delaware. So he wants us to say what promotion you want to work for and what do you want to do in that promotion.
Easy. NWA, and I'd want to be the booker.
Chad's done.
I would have liked to have worked in World Class, in a position similar to Gary Hart's, where he was a manager, but he was also kind of behind the scenes a little bit. He was essentially an on-screen manager, but also responsible for some of these guys to a certain degree, like Gino Hernandez, trying to straighten some of these people out and trying to keep them on the right path, because as over as that territory was, there were some bad paths to be taken. And unfortunately, guys like Gino and maybe some others took it. But I would have loved to have done what Gary Hart did, which was to be an on-camera personality and be as good at it as he was, and also be like a sort of an off-screen manager as well.
Going old school, I want to go right back to where I love. I want to go AWA, and I want to be Larry Marshall. Not Larry Marshall for Larry, but I want to be the on-air talent, backstage correspondent, but also throw in some of the shenanigans that you do as well back in that 80s. Everybody kind of helped with booking. Everybody kind of helped with marketing, so on and so forth. A jack of all trades, master of none. But AWA, just because I always resonate with Henning. Henning's one of my favorites. And we got Big Scott Hall. And I love that. I love that. It wasn't too flashy, but it wasn't anything. Right now, if somebody's going to offer me anything, I would wish it'd be NWA. I would love to put roots in Georgia and do something with them, because we love AEW. We love it. We love Britt. We love their product. But again, NWA right now, it just brings me back to the homey feel. So I would hope to be Dave Marquez right now.
If it was a right now thing, you and I have talked about this many a times, I would take the WWE.
You have to win the lottery first, though, you said.
Yeah. So I'm going to win the lottery and buy WWE, and then I'm going to clean the swamp. I'm going to drain the swamp. And we're going to go back. It's going to be patterned as much as you can after kayfabe has been destroyed, but it's going to go back to old school, where it's more on wrestling, not the bullshit gobbledygook or Asuka out there yelling and you don't know what the hell she's saying until she says belt or
Becky's pregnant.
Becky or or something like that.
What about right now, John? Since we both just gave one right now, where would you like to go right now?
I fantasized about working for AEW, calling matches with Tony Schiavone, Jim Ross, Excalibur, any two of those three guys.
All right, guys, another amazing Ask Can Crushers. We're going to put it on the shelf probably for a month or two again, bring it back. It's great to get that many questions piled up. Do you guys have anything that stood out?
I thought this was a lot smoother. Either we're getting better at this, or the questions weren't as challenging. There were a couple of times we were stumped, but I thought we were better at this overall this time. This is fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. You guys doing your questions?
No, mine were all those.
Oh, no.
John can do his.
That's a cop-out.
I never had one.
Sorry. With ratings for Raw, as you mentioned earlier, being what they are, is there a point? Now, mind you, the show's been on for years on the USA Network, and even Primetime Wrestling before that. And without knowing what the ratings were back then, as far back as Primetime Wrestling, with ratings being what they are, will there come a point where USA pulls the plug on Monday Night Raw?
No. It's still their highest rate. Look what else they have. The Miz and Mrs. is a spinoff of them. They've had so many spinoffs of them that whatever, it's fresh or whatever. Anything else on USA is NCIS from '93 or, whatever. They're a repeat channel. They really don't have their own brand, so to speak. WWE is their brand.
See, I'm gonna say no, but I'm gonna take it a different direction. I think they could find something to put in there to make that time slot passable if they got rid of it. But the financial implications of how much they would owe McMahon and the WWE if they canceled on their deal, I think that is the biggest thing. That'd be what would keep them from getting rid of it.
That's a great point.
Your brother wants to know how many dough containers he can throw away in the garbage tomorrow. He just sent me a text. Nonetheless. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and come back and talk a little bit about NXT that's on here in a few hours.
This is Jimmy Nuts, and you're listening to Can Crusher Podcast. Let's go nuts.
So my brother sent you a text, Mark, just now about how many dough tins he can throw away at once.
Plastic ones.
Plastic, yeah. Off air, you said that just do it all at once so that we don't have to worry about it. We had some work done on our property here, landscaper. Mark, you were at my house. You wouldn't recognize it now that if you were to see like all the weeds and wild forest that was pulled out. We had garbage bags, I'm going to say easily a dozen, that were heavier than maybe anything you've ever lifted. We've put 3 out over the course of maybe 4 weeks. Would you have rather they all just be put out at once? They're heavy.
They're heavy.
Filled with dirt, branches, and leaves and stuff.
Well, see, preference from where you are, area to area. If we know that they're in there, we have a compost area that we have to kind of push people down to. That's things that are decompostable. So that do stuff like that. Where your area is, you don't. There's ways that you can charge. If you know you're going to have 1 million bags, I would rather throw 25 mediocre bags than 12 ball-breaking bags. So if you would have broken up a little bit better, I would have done all of them at once. But now that you're a douche and you've made them all heavy, break it up because it's just as much.
We didn't do it.
Oh, of course not. It
was the landscaper who bagged everything.
It's just as much of a pain in the ass for him to drag it down your hill that is like Mount Fuji to climb up to because you're up in Snobs. No, you're not. I'm kidding. Either or. But at least as being a garbage man, if you're going to have stuff that weighs as much as Chad or me or Paul or,
Well, you have to go to me first on that one.
Just because.
Okay.
You can tie a little note.
He started at the lightest end and worked his way up, Chad.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Tie a little note saying, hey, these are heavy. Let the garbage men know, because sometimes we're in the swing of things, and if we grab that and our shoulder stays on your sidewalk, that's where we get pissed off.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good to know.
Good to know. That's our garbage tip. We haven't had a garbage tip in a while, so we should maybe bring that back, because we're always long. Again, we're long. NXT is tonight, so let's get through this. I have the picture of what's going on. We know Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream is taking place in a back lot brawl. Does Cole lose the title tonight?
No.
Unfortunately, I think the purple pedophile is going to beat him.
Well, Cole's maybe. You know what? You posted a story about Cole and his contract expiring by the end of summer sometime, right?
End of August.
September.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. Don't wait too long. If you need to get a belt off of somebody, do it now while you're negotiating.
Yeah. That's a great point. That's why I think Velveteen takes it tonight. I think a lot of shenanigans happen. This has been pre-recorded for like 2 weeks. This is the night that everybody from NXT got pissed off because the night lasted until like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning recording this. You have Ripley, Io, and Charlotte for the women's title. Who do we got?
Charlotte. I haven't paid close enough attention, but that's my guess.
I'm going to go with Ripley taking the title back. I don't think that they would have had her lose the title to Mr. Flair in the first place if she didn't have her visa issues. Keith Lee and Gargano for the American Championship, and what I read recently, Lee has a little bit of a ding. I think it's a way to get Gargano back up there, so I think Gargano is your North American champion after tonight. Yeah, with his face, with his face turn and everything like that. Yeah, Ciampa against Cross. I'm not Killer Cross. Carrying Cross, like the dead animal on the side of the road Cross. I think this is Cross's match to win. He's just too hot right now. Yeah. Finn Balor against Damian Priest. It's Punishment Martinez still. Punishment Martinez is still a better name. Yeah. Not because of the punishment. Because of the Martinez.
Because of the Martinez.
Right.
Yep.
I don't know.
Finn.
And then there's a 6-woman tag match. Tegan Nox, Shotzi Blackheart, and Mia Yim against LeRae, Dakota, and Gonzalez. They're good ones. You're going to say Tegan and Shotzi? Yeah. Gargano.
Yeah, as much as I want Dakota Kai's team to win, I'm going to go with what you guys predict.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we're long, so let's just wrap this up. Guys, again, great questions. Happy second year to all of us that have been on this train wreck garbage show that we have going on. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, it's all at CanCrusher69. You want to bitch at us because we answer stuff stupidly, send us a message at cancrusher69@gmail.com. Head over to our website. And this is news to know in Pennsylvania. It looks like wrestling is going to be slowly coming back. End of July is what we're looking at, and you can only have 50% of the show being, not the show, of the crowd. So I'll use Imagine Wrestling, because I know their numbers perfectly. The Juniata Event Center down there they're allowed to have 250 people there, okay? Commission says half of that, so 125 is allowed going. Masks and 6 feet away are going to be mandatory. I ask you both, are you going to a wrestling event wearing a mask? No.
I struggle with that because a mask is not meant to protect me from you. It is my way of protecting you from me. I hate to sound selfish, but if I'm the only one wearing it, I don't know. That's really hard to answer. I would like to, to be honest with you. Maybe I'm too much of a follower. But but seeing nobody else doing it makes me think, why the hell should I? But I would like to, because, guys, we're not out of this yet. And not to go down this road, China, France, and Italy all experienced second major spikes, not just a little, blip on the radar, a little bit of a spike, major spikes that were just as bad as the first round. So we're not out of this yet, guys.
I would love to go, but I will probably... IWC was supposed to have Super Indie next weekend, okay? It has now been pushed to possibly September. Who knows what's going to go on with CDC laws. Personally, I don't think laws are changing until next year. So, IWC, guys, if I can get there, that's awesome. We still do have the after party kind of booked for October. Is that really something that's going to, we're going to look at? We have to. We have to look right now at the plumbers and say, hey, this might not do anything for us or you. Because I don't imagine they're going to let everybody in the carriage in to have beers and a karaoke party afterwards. So,
yeah, and my thought was having it in when your crowd size or building size is limited, is now you have to take into account the people that you have there, that, from the vendors to the wives and family selling the products or the shirts and stuff like that, to the guys putting on the show, the plumbers, the ring guys, the light guys, you got to take in all that. So you're cutting your crowd even more. And I just, as much as I would love to, I just don't think it's going to be financially smart to do it. You're down to what? If your crowd size is 250, you're down to
100,
150,
175
people maybe.
Yeah,
and it's just, I can ride with Mark all the way down to this thing,
and you can't get in.
And then we go in and we got to sit 6 feet apart. I just no.
Yeah, you're right. Related note, all that being said, I was back at the gym yesterday. Jimmy, buddy, I haven't missed a beat. I don't know what you've been working on these last few months.
Jimmy Nuts.
He knows. He knows who I mean. I haven't missed a step. Rolled with a higher rank, and I treated him like dough because I twisted him into a pretzel. So you just keep that in mind. Because the day's coming, Jimmy.
Day is coming. We're going to have this set up somewhere.
Buddy, I love you. That's just, I'm trying to do a wrestling promo. And seriously, in all honesty, I would absolutely love to work out with you someday. I really would. I know we keep joking about this and we're kind of half serious about it. My awesome wrestling promo aside, you're an awesome dude. And I would welcome an opportunity to work out with you sometime.
We need to reach out to Jimmy real quick to have that answered. But we are going to wrap this up. John, you need to go back to AK school for a promo because that really sucked. You did.
What?
That wasn't great.
All right.
Remember, just because you're both trash, it doesn't mean we all can't do great things.
It's called a garbage can. Take it, Chad.
Not a garbage cannot. Thanks, John.